purity culture, and I mentioned this in the last interview with Dr. Josh, it fucked me up really bad, and it caused some seriously negative side effects in my life and in my marriage, and things like that. And I'd just love to hear your perspective on purity culture. Has it affected you?
Yes. I very much grew up in the age of like Josh Harris's I Kissed Dating Goodbye, and like, you know, courtship is the way to go, and like yada, yada, yada. You learn that your body is inherently damaging to men if you're not careful about it. Like you learn that you will cause them to stumble. You learn that they will be distracted. You learn that they will have sinful thoughts if you are not hyper aware of your body and like how to cover it up at all times.
Yeah.
Now, because of that, you internalize this idea that your body is bad. Like,
yeah,
it may not be that logical, but it is what you internalize. If my body can have all these adverse side effects, then inherently something is wrong. And as you move through life, go ahead.
You see, that's so interesting, because I'm glad we got to talk about this, because that's the opposite side effect of what I've had experience as a male. Is with us, it was like, you have this thing that you can't control, that eventually if you don't keep under wraps, you'll be like hunting down and like raping damage. And like you'll just be like, you won't be able to control yourself. Yeah, keep going. I just wanted to mention that, because I just never really considered that it would make you feel that your body was dirty. Like that's a horrible thing to.
I feel like that's the number one thing that happened, and I think that's incredibly interesting that you say that like you felt, or you were taught, that you were sort of like this inherent predator, whether or not you wanted to be, right? Whereas we were taught from a very young age, like, you have to cover up because you might distract someone, you might cause someone to stumble. And I'm like, I'm literally 12. Like, am I causing this fucking adult man to stumble? And like, looking back, I'm like, y'all are so creepy. But at the time, I was taught that. So I was like, something is wrong with my body. And when you're developing through puberty at that time, that's an additional problem, because you're already kind of uncomfortable with like what the fuck's happening with your body. And then you're taught that like the only person that's ever meant to see that or experience it or touch it or whatever is your husband. But then in reality, like, how do you meet your husband, right? Like, y'all should be attracted to each other, right? But then you're like, well, if I'm overtly attractive, then I'm sinful. So it becomes this like very weird thing where you view your body as inherently bad because its natural shape and form attracts men, and therefore is sinful because you're causing men to be attracted to you, which is like a super fucked thing, right? Like,
and then like they also like would have men's groups where it was like how long can we go without masturbating? Like, how long can we go?
That's wild to me.
Yeah, like how long?
Do you have a calendar?
And we honestly did, and we had accountability partners that we would message, like pray, and that meant that I'm horny. I
just really want to jack off right now. Yeah,
essentially, I'm horny. Go pray, and then like you get to the end of the week or whatever, and it'd be like pray. Like everyone's like they're struggling, whatever, and then there's no wonder too that. Like a woman with or someone you're attracted to with like showing like 1 centimeter of cleavage, you're like, I'm about to explode.
Exactly.
Because you've been building up for like 2 weeks.
That's
just masturbate. Have a good time.
Have a good time.
Don't let it control your life, but
get in the shower. Do it. Exactly. And like move on with your day. It's fine. We're all good here.
Exactly.
Yeah. I think the problem is that you're taught, because of original sin, that your body is naturally bad. And so these inclinations that you might have, right, sexually especially, are inherently bad. And then you totally skip over all of the like Enlightenment, Puritanism, like buggery act. Like you skip over all of this like demonization of sexuality.
Yeah.
We have this idea that our bodies are inherently bad, therefore any like sort of desires that we have are going to be inherently bad. And this weird crossover between like puritanical sex and the only sex being appropriate is for procreation. Like there's just so much going on there. And then so there's all of this sexual shame that appears. And so then it's like we just set people up to lose. Like you shouldn't masturbate, you shouldn't have any sexual desires. Like what the fuck do I look like, Paul? Like and then you see a woman who has like half an inch of ankle exposed, and your body does what it's supposed to do. It has the chemicals, it has the whatever, and you're attracted to women or men or whoever, right? But like you have that attraction. And so, of course, if you've been trying to push that down and push that down and push that down, to me, it feels very much like if you try to push sadness down over and over and over and over again, eventually it's going to show up as just like anger or something, right? And so then if you try and like push down this very natural feeling, emotion, whatever, over and over and over again, eventually it's going to come out for like no reason. Just something that doesn't even like fully make sense. Just like, I don't know, I saw her like kneecap. It's just like sent me over the edge. But that's because you haven't been honoring the needs of your body because you were taught they're bad.